take a minute or so. Welcome, everyone. We're looking forward to today's presentation. We're going to give about another minute just for people to settle in, and we'll kick things off, get things moving for us. So we thank you for your patience. Just got a couple more people joining. I'm watching the participation room.
Yeah.
And
Always nice watching it tick up.
so we'll give it another 30 seconds, and then we'll kick things off.
It's a nice sunny day here in Atlanta area. I don't know where you guys are, but hope you're having nice weather also.
So welcome those who have just joined. We're going to kick things off. My name is Brian Bolger, and I'll be the moderator for today's presentation on how to empower your business through artificial intelligence. This is part 2 of a 4-part series. So the goals and objectives today is for you to leave with some tangible strategies that you can put in motion that will ultimately create either operational or financial efficiencies for your organization by leveraging AI. As our previous presentation, we want to make sure that if you have questions, feel free to ask them. We will be addressing your questions as they come in during the presentation. The more interactive the presentation is, I think the more effective it is for everybody on the call. So today's agenda is we're going to kick things off with introductions. So I'll have an opportunity to introduce myself and the speakers. We're going to take a quick poll on business issues, and we'll share the results of those polls with you. Then we're going to jump into AI solutions for marketing, making sure that you're leveraging AI to get your message out to the appropriate audience, and then how to leverage AI ultimately for sales to drive revenues for your organization. So as I mentioned, my name is Brian Bolger. I run a C-suite roundtable for Marsh McLennan on 2 topics. One is how to negotiate employee benefits from a position of power, and the second is on mitigating cyber risk. And I will be moderating, as you know, today's presentation. Nathan Miller is a management consultant, and he's with Atlantic Consulting Solutions. Has over 25 years of experience in business consulting, specializing in strategic management, leadership, and creating efficiencies through business operation. He has a wide variety of experience in a number of fields, and you'll have an opportunity to get to know Nathan a little better as he'll have an opportunity to present to you today. So we welcome Nathan. My friend Dan Ricks, who I've known for quite a number of years, is the founder and president of Brightwater Consulting. Dan has spent his career also as a CIO for Fortune 100 and mid-market organizations, and he founded Brightwater Consulting in 2003. And for people who know him in the business community, he's known as a problem doctor because he excels at diagnosing and resolving business issues for his clients. Also joining us from Bridgewater is Bruce Kopkin. Bruce has over 4 decades of experience in marketing and business development strategy, working with a variety of different organizations from startups, turnarounds to enterprise organizations. And his specialty is leveraging technology such as data analytics and AI to create efficiencies for his prospects and clients. So it's time for the first poll, and we are going to ask you, what is your greatest challenge in sales and marketing? Can it be getting new customers, keeping existing customers, expanding existing customer relationships, and increasing margins? So, Dan, do you want to put that poll up?
There it is.
And we'll give you maybe 15 or 20 seconds to answer that. And then once the results are in, Dan will share that with us.
We need to get some Jeopardy music, I think,
Yeah.
for the next webinar right here.
You could sing, Bruce.
No, I can't.
Looks like the answers are in.
Great.
See what we got. New customers.
It doesn't surprise me. Getting new customers, that's typically what we hear in the marketplace. And then
Yep.
Lastly, increasing margins. So thanks for sharing that with us, and we'll make sure that we address those biggest challenges during today's presentation.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned, you're going to have an opportunity to meet Nathan, and Nathan's going to kick things off and talk about business issues, strategic marketing, and I'm going to turn the floor over to my friend Nathan.
Thanks so much, Brian. So the first thing that I would just want to clarify here is who we are as a company and what we do and why we're putting on a webinar about AI. So at Atlantic Consulting Solutions, our core mission is to help business owners scale their companies. However, at the same time, we recognize that navigating IT development, and AI implementation can be challenging. So as a business, we have a decade of experience supporting 300 plus businesses, so we understand the nuances of these challenges. And so the purpose of this webinar is really to address these issues in collaboration with IT specialists, such as Brightwater Consulting. And the whole idea here is that this collaboration will allow us to bridge the gap between business issues, business objectives, and technological solutions, really empowering you as the owner to leverage technology for sustainable growth. So here, really, on this slide, I just want to share a story because I think this story resonates with so many owners out there, and this is what we're finding across the board. This is a client I worked with in the past. This particular business owner ran a salon and rented out booths to stylists. So at any given time, there were, unfortunately, several empty booths. And in total, we ran the calculations, they were leaving about $40,000 on the table each year because these booths weren't being rented out. So here's the key point. It didn't cost the owner anything extra to have these booths filled, which meant that any income they made from renting them would pretty much go to the bottom line. And so the owner knew they had up to $40,000 in potential earnings just sitting there. And they were even willing, in this particular case, to take up to 25% of that amount, about $10,000 to spend on marketing to fill the booths. The problem wasn't a lack of budget. They knew what they were willing to spend. The real issue was they had no idea how to effectively use that budget to turn it into actual sales. Not just leads, not an updated website, not social media posts, booth rentals, right? And they struggled to find a company that they could trust to efficiently take $10,000 and convert it into booth rentals. And this is the common issue we see with many business owners. They have a clear goal, even a budget, but unfortunately often no clear path to turn that budget into sales. If you joined us for our last webinar, you will remember that I talked about, we mentioned this last time, if you look for AI tools, you find thousands of them out there. Go to AIexploria.com and you'll find, I think it's like 50,000 plus AI tools. And so the key here is really being able to find the guidance on knowing which tools are right for you.
And Nathan, we have a question from the audience. It says, how do you measure the ROI of an AI-driven sales solution? What metrics should a business use to evaluate their success?
I mean, measuring ROI doesn't matter which tool you use. You can be using individuals who are making cold calls or an AI tool, or really at the end of the day, you're calculating the money going in and the actual results coming out. And unfortunately, often a marketing company will tell you what your ROI is, but they won't calculate also the cost that goes into hiring them, right? And so we often recommend to owners, we say, well, take your total marketing budget and then calculate what is actually turning into real sales, real revenue coming in. And that's the important thing, not just the ad spend that is turning that into ROI. Happy that you're all joining us today. I really highly encourage you to also continue to ask questions. We're going to be going through some very concrete things in applications for AI or automation, or simply, applying technology. Obviously, this webinar is about AI, but often the tools are going to vary depending on what you need. So I just highly recommend that you ask your questions. For example, if this company were on the call today and they asked this question, this would be a great question to answer. How can we turn $40,000 of potential revenue into real, real booth rentals, et cetera? So Brian, if you can switch to the next slide there. Kind of setting the stage, and I think this is crucial for any business owner, is to understand that sales is the lifeblood of any business. And what I have here on the screen, let's consider this a hypothetical company, right? Generating 100 million in annual revenue. That's the big thing that everybody looks at. What is my revenue? What's coming in? In this particular case, let's understand that 40% of this revenue, $40 million, is going towards the cost of goods sold. So this would include labor, materials, or anything necessary to provide the product or service. So this leaves the company with 60 million in gross profit. You'll notice, the green numbers are the money coming in. The red ones are the money going out. When it comes to calculating jobs, what we find is often business owners will stop there. They'll stop at the gross profit, thinking that if a particular job makes gross profit, then it's enough. However, this company also has to spend $55 million to run their business. So this leaves them with 5 million in net operating profit, which we all know is what actually determines how much a company will pay in annual federal taxes, right? After tax, however, you still need to calculate what you're paying towards your long-term debt and then calculate in a margin of error. So as an owner, understanding all your costs is crucial for determining your break-even point. So in this particular example, we're calculating that this business is just breaking even because they're spending 5 million in taxes and to cover their debt, leaving them with 0 positive cash flow. This is then the break-even point for this company. So in this example, after covering expenses, which could include salaries for owners as well, right? Taxes, debt payments, and a margin for error, the business essentially reaches a 0 profit threshold. So once you get to the point where you understand that, how much you need to sell to break even, the owner can see that additional sales transform then into raw cash flow. Obviously, then you have to account for taxes, but thus getting these numbers right is essential for scaling your business, because at this point, any additional sales provides a gross profit, which essentially equals net operating profit, which after taxes directly affects cash flow, which puts money in the pocket of the owner.
Nathan, there's a question from the audience about what are your thoughts on the limitations of AI currently in regard to transforming marketing? And where do you think we are on the spectrum of scratching the surface to the overall capabilities of AI in regard to marketing?
I'm going to let Dan or Bruce answer the question more specifically for AI. But what we have found is that AI is a tool that is being used across the board to support existing things. right? So everybody has email marketing, but now email marketing is including an AI element, right? Or cold sales calls that are going out. Now AI has been created to support those people who are on the phone in order to provide them that additional, added nuance or insight into how the call is going, et cetera. So what we're finding is that AI is this additional element that is supporting existing structures, whether that be softwares that are out there or tools that are already being used, such as email marketing or ad spend, et cetera. AI has become something that is really just part and parcel of what is being added. So just to kind of wrap up this slide here, the understanding of the break-even point is crucial for growth because everything hinges on the ability to sell. In other words, getting sales right is crucial for every business, but especially when we're talking about those businesses that are looking to scale.
Thanks. Bruce, anything you want to add to the limitations on AI and where we're at in regard to scratching the surface to the capabilities?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's really the heart of everything. And Nathan really explained it well on one of the two phases of what AI can do. AI can help you do things you're already doing much more efficiently, sending out emails and doing A/B testing and marketing and those pieces. The other piece, and we'll talk about in a little bit more detail in a minute, upcoming slides, is the next part is then actually helping you decide on what you might be able to do differently or what you might be able to do better. I'll just a quick example. People think about ChatGPT, and you can go into ChatGPT and say, write a sales letter for me that explains why we're better in this particular market, and ChatGPT will help you do that much quicker. The challenge is you just instructed ChatGPT on what you wanted it to say, and then it made it better or quicker. The difference is what maybe should you have said differently. And there's different ways that AI, again, we'll talk about in a minute, can recognize the patterns and do predictions and make recommendations that will allow you to do things differently, all based back on what Nathan said a minute ago on what is your overall business piece. Are you trying to grow top line? Are you trying to expand your customers? Are you trying to, keep attrition down? All those different pieces, AI can help you get to what the right piece is. So it's absolutely the in my opinion, the almost like a groundbreaking thing that's happening now within sales and marketing. We'll talk about it more in subsequent webinars and what it can do in finance stuff also. But sales and marketing is being transformed tremendously through AI. It's a fun time.
There's just a statement here from Frank from the audience. He says, we can apply new technology to old problems or take advantage of what new technology now allows us to do, which we could not do before.
Exactly. Well said, Frank.
Yeah, on this slide about marketing, here's some actual, I call them business needs, right? Every department, division at a company, whether it's finance or operations or marketing or HR, has business functions they have to do, targeting the right audience here, hyper personalization, measuring the effectiveness of marketing campaigns, keeping up with digital marketing trends, measuring the ROI of marketing. Those are all different things that every marketing organization needs to do. And we are seeing at Brightwater, more and more AI utilized in a lot of those solutions, whether it's adding more and more capabilities to your current CRM solution, right? The CRM tools can do certain things, but I've also now seen commercial off-the-shelf AI solutions that bolt onto these CRM tools that actually do a lot of that automation on behalf of the marketing team or business development teams at clients. And also things like, chat bots and things like that, right? When people come to your website and they've got questions about your product or service, and you've got an automated chat bot that can do a lot of that fielding of the questions and responding to people. are taking information to add into your CRM solutions, a little bit more user friendly versus the old days of just having a screen on your website that says complete this form and we'll get back to you kind of thing. But especially the hyper personalization thing, using AI to really dig in and make some of the contacts more specific. Bruce, do you have any specific examples you want to give there?
Yeah, I'll get to a couple examples for sure. And I want to just maybe I'll take a step backwards for a second. I made a side comment. I'm also the founder and president of the Executive Sales and Marketing Association. So over the last 15 years that we've been around, I do talking with a lot of sales and marketing execs, and I'm kind of going to compile what a number of people have said. And there's really, in my mind, 7 different layers within the sales and marketing side of what AI can do for you. The first one is recognizing patterns. And they're not easy to find, and depending how many customers you have and what types they are and all those pieces, let the AI go ahead and try to look for the patterns. Once it finds those patterns, it can then classify them. So maybe within your customers, that classification may be vertical, it may be their size, it may be their geo, and from there, it's trying to then make those patterns into those classifications. Once that's done, AI can then make predictions based on past data that happened within the history of those clients, and then come up with what maybe needs to be done moving forward. For example, there may be some industries or geos that require intervention earlier in a marketing process than another industry. Sometimes some industries may want to stay more impersonal longer. AI can tell you who those pieces are and then make those recommendations. Within the AI world, those recommendations are called NBAs, next best actions. Let AI instruct your sales or marketing people on what that is based on those classifications and personalizations. Once that's done, AI can help you automate those next steps. It can even help generate the code for how you want the next piece to go, the path, the strategy, the contact points. And then at that point, you've then automated the interaction. AI can take notes, it can listen to voice, it can, from all those different things that are happening, whether it's a chat bot, whether it's OCR, whether it's NLP, a natural language processing, it can then go ahead and automate all those pieces. One great example that I think ties a lot of these things together, there's a great company by the name of SailMaker, and they are a mixture of almost all of these AI technologies. And what they do is by looking at a recording of your people, they will make a avatar, maybe also known as a deep fake. So it looks like you're sending a personal video out to your customers, your prospects, with whatever you want it to say based on those patterns, classifications, predictions. So what it will say to somebody in the manufacturing industry would be different than somebody else. If somebody's been a customer for a long time, it'll have a different message. And so you can send out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of personalized, hyper-personalized messages out that look like a video, and you can't tell the difference. It's just amazing on how that can be done. And I've seen just some wonderful uses for that within the marketing side, but also touching base with existing customers, which people always like that. So I rambled on a little bit there, but there was an example in the background.
Well, Bruce, while you were asking, while you were making your statement, there was a couple of questions from the audience. Some overlap. One was, how do you know which AI app to use for your specific purpose? And then the second question, which kind of is an overlap, are what are the top 3 AI tools to help analyze data and recognize patterns?
Yeah, there's as someone said earlier, there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of tools out there, and it varies on what amount of expertise you have and how you want to get at them. I would say that in most cases, there's AI that's built into existing tools you're probably already using. If you're using HubSpot or Salesforce as your CRM, they've got built-in AI that will help you write letters, that'll help you do A/B testing, and it's et cetera. And it's a very, very cost effective. In many cases, it's included in your already what you're paying for your subscription. Use those things; they're great. There are other tools within the identification, trying to get to the patterns, like Zoom Info or Seamless IO, that have millions and millions of companies and contacts within their database. And by using their AI pieces on what your ideal customer profile is, et cetera, it can go ahead and help you find who the right companies are, who the right contacts are, and who the right messages are to go after it. Back to the very first, the polling question, the number one goal was finding new customers. And that's a great way to do it, is to go out to these people that know who it are. You want your ideal customer is somebody between 50 and $100 million worth of revenue. They're within this industry or this SIC code. I like to call on somebody in finance, et cetera, et cetera. It can build that database for you and then help you write the hyper personalized messages out to them. And they're fairly cost effective. You can get some for as low as $100 a month kind of subscriptions and up. So depending what you have, and it's really, those are really great ones. Highly recommended.
Let me speak to Yoav's question also. I've replied to it in the chat window, in the Q&A window. Hopefully you saw that, Yoav, and everybody else. But as a result of registering for this meeting, you'll get the recording of the meeting afterwards in an email from me. Plus, you'll also get a leave behind kind of a document. And I actually had some answers to your question there on that document. One of the pages talks about common AI tools for data analysis and manipulation. So I'll put 4 of the common tools there in the actual Q&A window that we've seen used, in addition to a lot of the tools that Bruce just mentioned.
If I can jump in just briefly, I would say we said this last time, but just repeating it, it really depends on your company.
Yes.
Right. Because it depends on what you're trying to achieve. I think the tendency is people want to know what's the best AI tool, what tool, and their mindset is, I want a tool that's one little app that does one little thing. Whereas I think what we need to transition towards is, how do I build a strategy for my business that uses an integration of multiple AI tools and approaches that helps me find the most efficient, use of obviously my money and my time, so that I have the best return for my particular company. So every company being individual.
And you're absolutely right, Nathan. That's why, not to make this a marketing conversation, but that's why you should engage a consultant such as Brightwater Consulting. I actually misspoke earlier. It was Eric that asked the question about the top 3 AI tools for data analysis, but it was Yoav that was asking about how do we know which AI tool to use and for what purpose. And Nathan's absolutely correct. It depends on you. It depends on the company. It depends on your particular situation. And bringing in, again, without trying to make this a salesy pitch, but bringing in the right AI consulting firm that's business focused and AI technology focused at the same time. We work with you to understand what you're trying to do, what your specific needs are, as Nathan said, and find the right solution and the right tool set to meet your needs.
And Dan, just to piggyback on that, there was another question in the chat room about what the difference between an off-the-shelf and when to implement a fully integrated approach, leveraging an IT organization like yourself to create efficiency. So can you give scenarios where an off-the-shelf product may be best fit, and maybe when it is not the most efficient fit for a particular client?
Well, traditionally, commercial off-the-shelf software have been good solutions for a lot of companies, whether it's a corporate financial system, HR, ERP solution, or whatever. And more these days, those off-the-shelf solutions have AI built into them to some extent. So to some extent, that'll meet your needs. But what we've realistically experienced with our clients is those solutions meet a lot of the needs of a client, but a client will have other specific needs that commercial off-the-shelf solution doesn't meet. So that's where you get into add-ons or bolt-ons, or bringing in another AI solution to add to and enhance that commercial off-the-shelf solution. So again,
Perfect.
working with the right consultant, the right business partner, maybe that's a better way of saying it, to help to know you and you specifically and what you're trying to do, and not try to force you into a just an off-the-shelf solution.
It's like anything else in business. You have to clearly define what your goals and objectives are before you get to the finish line of, hey,
Yeah.
what is the solution?
Nope.
Once and sometimes you need assistance to really dig in with a professional to ask you the right questions to figure out, what are you looking to achieve and to dig a little deeper. So thanks for responding, team. Dan, how are we doing on this
Brian,
slide? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Nathan.
can I just chime in here briefly? Once again, kind of from what I've experienced, having worked with, hundreds of owners, is that often what they're looking for are a way to integrate everything that they already have. So they might have a project management software, they have a CRM, they have an email management, marketing system. They're working with a marketing company, they have their website, and they're trying to get all these things to speak to each other. That is often one of the concrete needs that I see. So I don't know, Dan, if you can speak to that briefly, just explaining how an approach would look in order to help exist, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to change my software. I don't want to get a new project management. I just want it to work with what I have and then to help me to do 2 or 3 additional things.
And that can happen, but even prior to AI, it's always one of the issues that clients have always been integrating their systems, right? You may have the best ERP system, the best financial system, the best HR, whatever, warehouse management control system. But unless those systems are integrated and talk to each other, then you've just got a whole bunch of one-off solutions. And so for management and leadership to have true data, true charts, graphs, et cetera, that they can drill down on and make real good business decisions, you really have to have integrated applications that pull all the data into one place. That was a problem even before AI. AI is exacerbating that problem because everybody thinks, well, this one-off AI solution is going to solve all our problems. And that's not necessarily the case. It can be a point solution, but not a complete long-term strategic solution, unless you integrate appropriately.
Thanks, Dan. Bruce, are you taking the lead on this?
Yeah. Ultimately, we talked about marketing on the last slide, but why do we do marketing? It's to get sales, right? And one of the questions that was asked at the beginning is, how do you measure the ROI of marketing? And those of us in sales and marketing have been struggling with that for years. What's the value? When Twitter came out and all those things, and people spent a lot of time posting, well, until you eventually get an order, you really it wasn't a good investment yet. And AI is finally helping to solve a little bit of that unstructured data and get sense around it, where you can actually separate some of the root causes and the activities that you've done to move things over, which is tremendous. The real big piece, though, and I think one of the biggest areas where AI can help now is in the area of sales, because sales by its nature is an analog function. Different people do things different ways. I'm sure as business leaders, everybody on the phone here has a sales playbook and messaging and vision statements and all of those things, and they know what their competitive analysis is. But ultimately, it's the salespeople and supported by the marketing. They're trying to make those things happen. And you've got some sort of a CRM that you're using to try to measure how you're doing. But ultimately, are you really making the right decisions? How long should a sales campaign go on? What are the right steps? What things do people hear? I think one of the best AI applications right now that'll bolt on to anything that you presently have are things like Gong and Ring DNA, and there's other ones that plug into your CRMs that actually listen to the sales calls and then can come out and say, because you have to identify, number one, was it a successful sales call? And then ultimately at the end, did you win the deal or not? The AI goes backwards and says, well, what we've learned is when we talk about this feature, we have a better chance of winning. When we talk about that feature, we don't. When the customer asks this question, it's a better chance that we're going to win. And you use this information then to update your sales playbook and how you get it done. It's as if you had, your master sales coach, your company president on every single sales call, because you're able to bring all those things back in. It's just a tremendous way to get it done. I think for everybody, that's one that you should look at and help that. And it can, back to the point I made earlier, it'll also look at it, is it different when I'm talking to a finance prospect or somebody that's in supply chain? Is it different when I'm talking to somebody in manufacturing or in consumer goods? It's going to be different when you're talking to somebody in New York City, versus Atlanta, Georgia.
Mhm.
We're nicer down here in Atlanta,
Wait a minute, Bruce.
yeah. Should have looked where the participants joined this call. But all those kind of things get built in and really allow you to personalize, become more efficient. It can even do your homework for you. We use a bot that goes out before every sales call we make, and it gathers stuff off of our prospects' websites. If they're public, it pulls it off of their 10Qs and 10Ks annual reports. So I already know who the people are, who the management structure is. Are their sales going up or down? How are their net profits doing? How is their cost of goods against industry norms? AI has gathered all that information before me, so I don't have to ask those stupid questions during a sales call that are public domain that really piss off your customers. Do your homework before the call. AI can do that homework for you and put that into a report for you. And it takes seconds. We built an automated bot to get that done. It's tremendous.
And Bruce,
a couple of examples.
Another question is, can you talk a little bit about how AI can improve customer experience, from everything from touch points to the journey to, awareness of conversations, retention of clients?
Yeah. And a few of those things, listening, and having the things like the gong and the reading DNA, and there's a whole lot of others to listen is tremendous. It is nice to have multiple channels. Some customers, some people, and again, you can get back into the patterns and the classifications at different parts of the sales cycle, would prefer not to talk to a salesperson. They'd rather talk and they'd rather text with the person. In some cases, they just want to get some information, and a chat bot for them is just fine. So have those multiple communication vehicles so they can choose how they want to do it. It's then important that you, as the company that's trying to sell your product or service, keeps track of that. Just because somebody didn't want to talk to a salesperson doesn't mean you should ignore that interaction. And then by using this information, AI can then tell you when is a good time, when is that next best action to go back and actually make the introduction without looking creepy. There are ways that you can, when somebody's on your website, you can have the devices in your website that let you know somebody's on it right now. Well, it's kind of creepy then to phone that person. Hey, I know you're on the website right now. You've probably turned off 90% of the people. Well, wait an hour, and then go back at them. And that's another great tool, though, to know who's on your website. There's other great AI that can go out and look, and it can tell you which companies, which URLs are visiting your website. They can tell you which companies are visiting websites or doing searches based on keywords that are important to you. So, if I don't know, if back to the example Nathan gave, if you were in the salon business, wouldn't it be nice to know if there's other people searching for salon efficiency improvements or, barber needed or something? You can go ahead and put those words out and then be told that unfortunately, the technology from a privacy standpoint won't tell you who the person was, but they'll tell you what URL it was. So you'll know what company was doing those searches. AI will then score that, let you know how many people at what level are doing what searches, and then give you a score back that says you should go, and now you can use the Zoom infos or the seamless IOs, et cetera, to go back and look for the right personas within that company to go out and find people. Much higher probability than cold calling. you know something's happening with that company. Don't know who yet, but you know who the company is. Hopefully that answered the question, Brian.
Yeah, and then there's one other question from Frank in the audience. He wanted to know
Go,
uh,
Frank.
for solopreneurs, uh, how can they leverage AI? I would assume they leverage it just the same way as, mid-market or enterprise company. It's just a matter of a budget and how to leverage your budget. But I don't want to answer for you, Bruce, but maybe you can
Yeah.
give me your thoughts.
Yeah, real quickly, it's exactly the same. Obviously, the budget is going to be the piece, but depending what you're doing as a solopreneur, back to what Nathan said earlier, you take a look at how much, one of your sales is worth, and then how much money is it worth me to spend it? I mean, that example that Nathan gave earlier, to spend 10,000 on marketing to bring in 40,000 of booth rental, that's a great ROI. As a solopreneur, you can do much the same thing, and there absolutely are off the shelf AI tools that are under $100 a month. Significant. I mean, some of them $10 a month to use, and there's a lot of them, Copilot, etc., that are free. They come with existing applications and those pieces, so you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a lot of power.
Good questions coming, by the way. We appreciate
Oh, wonderful. Thank you,
your
Frank and everybody.
participation.
Can I ask you, Bruce, to speak briefly to, it just sounds like AI is more useful, with larger companies. If you have more data, can you talk about like company size in relation to AI adoption and ROI?
Yeah, I mean, it may seem that way, and I'll certainly agree that AI can have higher fidelity, higher accuracy with more data, but there's still a lot of data that's down for any size company. Even a solopreneur that's trying to target, let's say that you're looking for companies between 10 and $20 million. Back to the example I gave before with the Zoom Infos of the world, it's going to find millions of companies in that size. It's amazing. To talk about data just for a second, I think that whatever data you have is good. The more, the better. There's a great another company out there, Cerebri AI, and what they do is they take in indirect spend information from their customers, particularly around the area of travel and T&E, and then with that information are able to give you recommendations of how you can save money. You can take that a step further and then tie into that where I'm winning business, where I'm losing customers, I have attrition, etc. And it can actually help tell you how frequently should I go make a visit? How frequently should I go call them? Which customer, am I potentially going to lose? I mean, as human beings, as companies, as customer service centers, what do? We react to the people that are calling us the most, that are yelling at us. But it's the silent people that are typically more apt to leave you. They're frustrated and they're going to go, and you never knew it. AI can look at the data, look at their interactions and help tell you that. So the more data, the better, but absolutely down to the solopreneur level, there is absolutely enough data to get that done.
And if you want to
Great
follow up with
question.
me afterwards, sorry, Bruce, if you want to follow up with me afterwards, I've got some examples of that solopreneur usage also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nathan,
good.
do you want to
Excellent.
share some other items on this slide, and then we'll move along? I know we have a hard stop coming up at 2, and we're at 1:45.
So we as a we're a consultant company and we're constantly working with owners, helping them to grow. We always will ask the owner, well, what marketing company are you working with, right? And what technology company are you working with? Because you just really need across the board help. And I'm gonna share a quick story here. There was an owner we were working with, and we asked about marketing and what they were doing, and they were like, "Oh, we have recently hired an AI or installed an AI SEO optimization tool on our website, and so now we're going to get all these new leads." And I also have a background in marketing. I used to be a business manager for a marketing company. And so I know a thing or two. And so I looked at their website and they have absolutely no content. And so this owner thought that they were actually optimizing something, but they don't even have content. And so they had installed an AI tool to do something that wasn't doing anything. right?
Mm.
So the story there from the perspective of, you need to hire professionals who are going to help you see which tools work hand in hand. Because what I find across the board is that owners will often aim to boost their sales, and they mistakenly believe that all they need is a marketing company. And then what a marketing company often does will sell them social media, or sell them, just want to sell them ads or improve their website SEO. And while some of these aspects are important, they overlook the necessity of a well-defined strategy that encompasses really three critical elements: marketing strategy, a working technology strategy, and a comprehensive business strategy. Each of these components really has to work hand in hand, right? And so, the marketing company needs to engage the audience, the IT company integrates systems for efficiency, and the business strategy really ensures financial and company goal alignment, right? And so without the cohesive approach, efficiency is going to suffer, and it's really going to make it challenging to achieve sustainable growth. So what we'll often do is we'll help a company establish revenue goals, right? And as we talked about previously, help them establish their break-even point, for their sales, or even to budget marketing dollars. But then in turn, we have to recommend that they work with a marketing company to do the concrete things, such as reaching concrete audiences with ads, personalizing their email campaigns, running seasonal promotions, or to hire a technology company to help them automate their invoices, to connect their CRM with contact form on the website, or automating ROI calculations on the company time and money spent per product. So really what we're trying to present here is not so much, hey, buy, and I've been on, AI webinars, where the only thing they really want to do is to sell you a single product. What we're trying to do here is kind of open the perspective of owners to see, when it comes to AI, there's a lot of solutions, and I really need to make sure that I'm choosing the ones that are going to help me as a company to grow according to who I am, and really what tools I have, and the abilities, whether it be budget or time or personnel, to be able to implement them.
Thanks, Nathan. Should I move to the next slide, team?
Sure.
So we're going to take another poll. It's how comfortable are you that you have the resources needed to implement an AI strategy? Very comfortable, somewhat comfortable, not sure yet, nervous, or scared. So Dan is going to pull that up. You could take the poll, and in about 10 seconds or 15 seconds, we'll share the results.
Hopefully you see it now. Yep.
Yep, we see it. Let us know when the results are in, Dan, and then we'll
Couple more seconds. All right, here we go. Here are the results.
So it
Interesting.
seems kind of split. Not sure yet, and that's probably
Nobody's
a good reason.
terrified.
Yeah, that's probably a good reason why we're on the call. Somewhat comfortable, very comfortable, and a little nervous. So it sounds like we're in an area where we're doing some exploring. Some of us have a higher comfort level, but I think the consensus is that most people feel like they need someone to guide them.
And let me say, Brian, I think that's good. There's no reason you should be nervous or scared. It's just like any other business decision, business strategy to look into. So yeah, being not sure yet or comfortable is great. And you should continue down the road of your discussions on how should we as a company use AI to help us and support us, and what can we do to make the best use of that financial investment, as Nathan mentioned early in the discussion.
I think what you guys have been able to provide today, at least from me, what I'm seeing is a little bit more clarity on what is possible, right? Because I think the tendency is to think AI is just some tool that I'm going to buy, instead of it being more of an integral approach to my business, saying, well, how can I make sure everything's talking to each other and optimize all my systems to the point that I'm really functioning more efficiently across the board.
Thanks, Nathan. Well, it looks like there might be a question here. Give me a second. It doesn't look like there's any additional questions. If there are, just please put them in the chat room, or even if you have feedback for us on the presentation, that would be great. As far as wrapping things up, and I will again check the chat after I start the wrap, is we're going to reach out to you to offer an assessment to basically get a better understanding of where you're at now and what your comfort level is in regarding your ability to access AI to create efficiencies for your organization. So we'll be reaching out to you, and if that's something you want to take advantage of, we're happy to do that assessment for you. If you have any additional questions and you want to dig a little deeper with anybody on today's panel, feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to answer any specific questions to your organization. You will be receiving a copy of today's presentation. The presentation has been recorded, so Dan is going to set that up.
Yes.
And then I know we have some upcoming dates. So Dan, do you want to talk a little bit about what's coming up in the future?
If you like what you heard today, this is a 4-part series, as Brian mentioned earlier. The first was 2 weeks ago, was a little bit more of a generic overview. And then the one today and the next 2 are supposed to get into more specifics. So today we got into specifics of sales and marketing. On October 23rd, we get into specifics about how AI can help with operations and financial efficiency. And then on November
6th.
we'll get into specifics about HR, legal, and strategic planning. So the idea is to get real specific, dive deep into these specific business areas. So feel free to join us for both of these coming up, or one of these, or whatever could be helpful for you.
Thanks, Dan. We want to thank everybody for their participation. We spent a lot of time preparing to make best collective use of our time. I hope that was reflective in our presentation, and we look forward to seeing you at some upcoming events. And again, if you want to take advantage of that assessment to see where you're at right now as far as your AI capabilities, as far as leveraging the marketplace, we're happy to assess that and provide any guidance.
Let me answer.
If your baseball teams are still playing, we wish them luck. And if the sun is shining where you're at, enjoy the sunshine.
Brian, let me answer one question. Frank asked a question about will there be future emails on the last 2 AI seminars. Yes, in addition, the email I will send you guys after this meeting to say thank you for that and to include the recording for today's meeting. It will also include links for each of these remaining 2 meetings, so that you could click on one or both links to register for those.
Sure.
Thanks everybody. Enjoy the sunshine, and thanks for your participation.
Thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.